Despite imposing a 2-month-long nationwide lockdown, the most stringent across the globe, the total number of positive cases currently comes in at over 2.16 lakh. What is worse, many states have now started to report a rise in COVID cases among the migrant workers who travelled from other states. The Health Ministry, however, claims that India's fatality rate remains one of the lowest in the world, which is a fact, and that there has been no widespread community transmission. Medical experts believe otherwise. A joint statement released by 3 medical professional associations 2 weeks ago said that community transmission is already well established across large sections or subpopulations in the country. Further, the joint statement points out that had the government consulted epidemiologists who had a better grasp of disease transmission dynamics compared to modelers, it would have perhaps been better served. Well, joining us now to take this discussion forward, Dr. Naresh Trehan, the Chairman and Managing Director of Medanta. Also with us, Dr. Chandrakant Pandev, the former head of the Community Medicine Department at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Dr. Pandev has also served as the President of the Indian Public Health Association and the Indian Association of Preventive and Social Medicine. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here on the program. Dr. Pandev, I want to start by asking you, I know that you believe that the manner in which the lockdown was imposed was draconian and perhaps has not served the purpose or its objective. Now the question is, what do we do from here on? If the measures so far, in your assessment, have been ad hoc and arbitrary, then how do we deal with the rising cases as well as unlocking of the economy?
The good thing about the past is that it is over. So what we must carry forward is the learning of the past. We have made mistakes. There are a large number of circumstances, challenging circumstances in which decisions have to be taken. It's a complex procedure, complex process. But what I find is when I look at Thailand's health policy, the way it was evolved, it's called the triangle that moves the mountain. And the triangle has 3 angles. And the 3 angles are denoted by S for scientist, second S for society, and third S for the statesmanship. Now let's come to the scientist. This is a classical case where this was a race which had to be run on the ground. And we asked the fish, which is very good in swimming in the water, that can you run the race on the ground? This is a specialized area. Public health, epidemiology, and behavioral science is a specialized area. Now tell me, who are the experts who came on the TV? What disciplines did they belong to? Cardiology, cardiothoracic surgery, gastroenterology. So you didn't choose the right kind of people to give you an advice. You chose fish and you wanted the fish to run the race and win it. You should have chosen the rabbits. Let's soar from each other's strengths. So that's the science part of it. The society part is that we are a democracy. Have the people been taken into confidence in terms of what needs to be done? So that is another important thing. Democracy, we have people's elected representatives. As I said, this is a classical case of wisdom by hindsight. Henceforth, let's get our act together, because I'll tell you a story. We are all caught in a net. This is a hunter's net, story of pigeons where the hunter has thrown the net. That's the Koraina. And we have to get away from this net. So the pigeon leader said, let's hold the net by the beak and let's fly together. So one important message that I want to go through is that we are all together. We need to fly together to escape from the coronavirus. So the pigeons flew at a long distance from the hunter's place and they came to the ground. And they asked their dear friend rat, incidentally this is the rat of the Chinese, that's why we're staying like rats in the house. They asked their friends of rats to get rid of the net, and that's how it helped. And that's how the pigeons got free. It's like any other virus. It's the 7th virus in the series. And this is the 20th pandemic in the year 2020. I really don't understand why he gave her a special treatment to begin with. But after having said that, now let's do what can we do. I would see a series of decentralized healthcare centers coming up. I mean, there is a pathetic status of a primary healthcare. So use interim measures to have decentralized healthcare systems where people who are infected can be isolated, quarantined, and taken appropriate care. To me, that's the way to do it. Move as much as decentralization as possible, because there's going to be a movement, and then we'll have to have a series of protocols in terms of making sure that there is an order in the people that are seeking treatment. The most challenging part of this particular virus is what we call as asymptomatic but infected. They are the super spreaders. Now that's something we have to come into terms. They are not visible, they're invisible. Anybody could be a super spreader. He is asymptomatic but infected. So therefore, we have only two options. Number one, take extreme personal protective measures. And here I see two components. One is called the face hygiene, other is the washroom hygiene. The face hygiene, you have the mask, and you have to wear that mask for three reasons. One is that if you are infected with coronavirus, you reduce the probability of transmitting the virus to the other person. That's number one. Number two, when you're coughing, sneezing, or talking, you're again reducing the thing. The third thing is the grand balance of the coronavirus in the nasopharyngeal regions. So that's how we wear the mask. That comes as a physical barrier. The second thing is almost 80 to 90 times, without our knowledge, we touch our face, ears. You know, so I coined the term men, keep men away, keep mouth away, too much attention, focused attention to the corona problem. When you look at the statistics from January 2020 to March 2020, global statistics, the deaths due to corona constitute only 0.5%. So we focused too much on one side of the equation. We didn't ever look at the other side of the equation. And I feel in India, we have 7 pandemics going on, 7 pandemics. First is the pandemic of corona that we are struggling, and it seems to be in a pretty good condition to address that with the possibility of upsurge in the cases because we opened the floodgates. That's number one. The second thing is we had a pandemic of over-information. 90% of the space in the media and print media was occupied by corona, as if nothing is happening in the other part of the world. The third pandemic we had is a pandemic of misinformation, disinformation, distorted information, and incomplete information. The fourth pandemic we had are people who became experts by looking at Google experts. The fifth one was pandemic of fear. That was more serious than the disease itself. The sixth one is pandemic of misery that the country is currently going through. Because the other side of the equation, we did not at all focus ourselves sufficiently enough to handle it. Now the question of migrants moving, the question of people who are on immunosuppressions, those people who are having stroke, those are having serious problems. The hospitals were locked, the government hospital.